Opening an account is such a headache, and in most cases, filling out long forms, slow responses from the bank, and the sheer amount of documents I need to put together. I am someone who likes things simplified, and that is why I am looking forward to using the Jupiter Money app. It's a digital banking app that simplifies banking. Take opening an account, for example. It's completely paperless, and in fact, your PAN card and Aadhaar card are the only things that you need. The whole process takes only 2-3 minutes, and it's super easy to understand. You can check out jupiter.money to know more, or download the Jupiter app on Android and iOS to get started. Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I'm Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach, and today we're going to be talking about how to stay consistent. What are interesting habits that we can create for our fitness journey? And I have a friend of mine, Devrath Vijay, and we're going to deep dive into the different habits that he's created for his life and his clients, because I've seen Dave being so consistent in his fitness and his body changing, the way that he moves, completely changing over the years. And I've always been curious about how he's managed to consider or be consistent in this journey. NinjaDev, Ninja D, as I like to call you. Welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Thank you. NinjaD sounds good.
Ninja D, I'm telling you, that's the next level. NinjaDev, Ninja D. So, Devat, how have you managed to be so consistent over the years in the way that you've been showing up for your fitness, for the way that you prioritized your health and changed over the years?
I think it's mainly because I've really just enjoyed it. I don't remember going to the. I don't remember going to the gym ever, thinking, "Oh my God, I have to do a workout today." I don't think I've ever felt that. So it's
Dude, that is
always,
amazing. That mindset
yeah,
of I'm excited to go to the gym.
yeah, and it's also maybe because I'm not very always fixed about, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do today. Like if I'm going to the gym, let's say I don't feel like lifting weights today, and I'm not motivated enough to lift weights, I would still go and maybe do some floor work, or maybe I would go do some stretching. So I think like I've somehow wired my brain to say that, okay, I'm going to get some amount of activity and movement 6 days a week. What kind of movement? Sometimes it, of course, depends on the program that I'm following. So if I've kind of set myself and say, okay, I am going to do 3 days of lifting, 2 days of mobility, etc., then I'm going to stick to that. But if I don't have a plan in place, I will still show up at the gym. And sometimes it might not just be to train as well. Like I would just go there, maybe, talk to some of my trainers, kind of get a general sense of the vibe. Maybe do some stretching, easy stretches, maybe just for like 20 minutes and then go back home. But the fact that I have made up my mind to actually show up every single time, I think is the key factor there. Because if I say, okay, I'm not feeling it today and I don't go to that gym today, I might feel the same way tomorrow and I might not go again. And one of the things that I don't remember where I heard it, but what really works is it's okay to miss one day, but don't make that 2 days.
You probably heard it in the Habit Coach podcast, because that's what
Maybe,
we say. Never miss 2 days in a row
could be you.
is
Yeah, it
something.
could be
Yeah,
you.
because the thing is, and exactly what you said, when you start missing something and then you make it the next day as well, you missed it, and you missed it after that, you've made missing the new
Yeah,
habit, right? It is
yeah. It's a
not
new
what you
pattern.
wanted to
Yeah,
consist. Yeah, it's a new pattern, it's a new
yeah,
habit, and that's how you're wiring your brain
yeah,
for it.
yeah.
So the way that you're talking about it, saying that I've removed the emotion from the equation, I've just turned it
Mm,
into a system. I have to land up
yes.
at the gym. Then after that, I can
Yeah,
figure out what I want to do. It's
yeah.
not that hard, that set pattern that you're going for.
Correct. And it's something that I tell my clients as well. Even in online training, especially because obviously you're not there. If it's one-on-one, if it's in-person training, you can physically lift somebody off the chair and say, "Come on, let's train." Of course, we don't do that, but with online training, it's somebody and the kind of online training. One of the online training methodologies that we do is where we give the workout program to a client, and they need to update us after they've worked out. So, and of course, they send us some videos for analysis, etc. But we don't really see them. It's not like a Zoom session sometimes. So there's a lot of kind of accountability, self commitment, where the client needs to do it himself or herself. Because so one of the things that we kind of talk about there is, don't think about, for some people who find it very overwhelming or like not motivated enough to kind of train, is to not think about the workout. Don't even look at, okay, these are the reps that I have to do, these are the movements that I have to do. Just go change into your workout clothes first, then just go put on your shoes, step by step. You're literally not even thinking about the next step. Then go walk to the gym, drive to the gym. Once you get there, you'll figure it out. So it's just about showing up sometimes, and that really, really helps most people. The minute that they start to overthink, the minute that they think, oh my God, 1 hour of exercise in the gym, oh my God, half an hour to drive to the gym itself, then your mind is finding multiple reasons not to do it.
Correct.
And as you said, building that pattern. So if I miss one day, you can still treat that as an exception and then show up the next day. But if you make it 2 days, then the third day you're going to be like, oh, anyway, I didn't work out the last 2 days, I can push it by another day.
How does it
And that
matter?
another day never ends. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So
Tell me, if you miss a day, do you beat yourself up about it?
no, not at all, never. So that's again a very, very important thing. uh, you missing a workout and still not letting it affect you mentally is way better than you training every single day and still beating yourself up, right? So you could miss workouts for whatever reasons, let's say even for a week. But the idea is, let's say you're traveling or you were sick, the idea is that you still have to stay positive, and you still have to say like, okay, that was not under my control, and maybe sometimes it was, and I kind of fell off the bandwagon. But it's okay, I'm going to bounce back. And the body is an amazing adapt like it adapts, like it's a machine that adapts. So the minute you kind of put it back into training, you jump back into whatever else you were doing, it's not going to take much, maybe a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks for some people, but then you're going to bounce back and you're going to be exactly where you are and maybe even better. So it's just about having that kind of maturity to understand it's okay, it was just like a small road bump, but I'm going to get past that. But if you kind of get stuck in that, so sometimes you have to take 2 steps back, right, to take 3 steps forward. But if you get stuck when you're taking those 2 steps back, and if your mind stays there, then that's going to be a problem. So you always have to think ahead.
Now, see, like I think I've been following you for probably what, 7 years. When did you start your Instagram?
Oh wow,
Mm.
really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think right in the beginning of my fitness journey as well. So about the same time.
Oh,
When did you start Instagram? About 7 years,
easy. Yeah, yeah.
right? So
Must have been
probably
around
since
7
then.
years. Yeah. Okay.
And I've
Oh,
seen
I
you.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Old handed.
Okay.
Kept liking all your posts, but like nobody
Thank you.
noticed.
Appreciate it.
Nobody noticed. Anyway, so the point was that I've seen you consistently through that, right?
Mm,
And do you ever feel that now, you're a public figure on Instagram, people are looking up to you? Do you feel the pressure of, I have to maintain this? I know lots of people who had become, fitness influencers and then suddenly fizzled off saying, man, there's too much pressure. I don't want to be a.
yeah.
How do you juggle that in your head?
So I've somehow kind of distanced myself from what people are expecting me to post.
Hmm,
So if you've been following me from the beginning, I was just posting stuff that I was doing in the gym.
correct.
So it wasn't like, okay, I'm following this routine, I'm going to put up this thing on Monday, this thing on Wednesday, this thing on Friday. There wasn't really that kind of, it wasn't like a typical fitness influencer kind of a page, right? So it was more about, okay, these are the things that have worked for me, and this is the advice that I feel like I can give you because I've gone through this process. And it's always been, about training, very little bit about nutrition, and a lot about habits, and stuff that can help you. um, a lot of a spiritual angle as well, because that's something that I connect with. And I did go through phases, and I think I still go through those phases where I feel like I need a detox, or like I don't want to constantly be on the phone, and because that kind of gets to you. And I'm more like an outdoors guy, I'm more a nature guy. So for me to right now do what I'm doing is actually a challenge in terms of always being online or like running an online training business. Even when it comes to the gym, handling social media, etc., my work requires me to use my phone a lot. Ideally, if I did have the option of running these businesses without being on my phone, I would be the happiest person. I would, just take off somewhere. But since I can't do that, I try to find a balance. And I've gone through those phases. You would have seen where sometimes I would have been super consistent with my posts. Sometimes I would not maybe put up post, every this many days a week, but maybe I would put it up when I felt like. But I try to kind of be relevant in the sense that I probably still do put up stories, more consistently. But with posts, I have phases, and I've somehow not kind of put that pressure on myself, saying, okay, I have to post now, otherwise my following is going to reduce.
Forget about the
um,
posting part. I'm saying that the exercising part, the
oh, okay.
consistency part, the
Yeah,
habit
that
part, like that hasn't shifted at all because of the
no.
pressure that you felt or any of that.
Oh, no, 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 no. So training is something that I do for myself. So that hasn't changed at all. Uh, yeah, it would be pretty accurate to say like I've been super consistent from the time that I started,
Correct.
because it's something that I do for myself. So
Mm,
I thought you were asking me earlier about posting. Posting to some extent is, of course, it's me, but it's also about projecting, right? It's also
correct.
about, okay, this is what I want the world to see. So with that, I'm not super particular, even though I would love to be a lot more consistent, to be honest, to run obviously an online business and to have a successful Instagram page, of course, requires you to be
Correct.
a lot more diligent with that. And that's something that I'm working towards. But yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, one thing is the fact that I love showing up and I kind of love putting in the work, so that automatically becomes an enjoyable process, and it's not something that you have to beat yourself up to do it. Second thing that helps, I would say, is kind of like sticking to a particular time of the day. Like if you want to
Mm,
train, just making it a part of your routine. Let's say if mornings work for you, just whatever happens, don't compromise that time. Like if 7 to 8 is your time to train, kind of stick to that time, because then again, that's like building patterns, and your body is craving for that movement every day once you kind of set that habit up. But if
have you
you say,
figured out your
okay,
favorite time slot?
um well, unfortunately, because of my work, sometimes I have clients. On some days, I have clients in the morning. Some days, I have
Hmm.
some other meetings in the evening, etc. So I kind of have to juggle between. But if I could choose, early
Hmm.
mornings are the best
Early
for
mornings are
my
the best.
body. Yeah, for my body and for how I kind of react to training and how my mind is a lot more focused the rest of the day. If I get my training done in the morning, nothing like it. I feel like I feel like Superman after that. The
Do you think
rest of
there's
the
a
day.
time when people should not be training?
I think it's very individual.
Hmm.
For some people, training in the morning, they feel like shit. Like waking up in the morning, for example, is very difficult for some people. So
Correct.
fair enough.
Hmm.
As long as they're getting their hours of sleep, and if they feel like they're better suited to work out in the evening, great. Maybe like if you have to give like general advice, it's better not to work out very late into the night, because then your hormones are all changing in your body, and you're suddenly all awake, and so the time that you eat will get delayed, and then the time that you go to bed will get delayed. So to an extent, even if you're not an early riser, you still have to at some level maintain or be in alignment with what the planets are doing, right? So you can't be
Correct.
like, okay, I'm not an early riser, so I'm going to stay up all night and and
Hmm.
wake up very late in the day. You still would ideally want to be as close to waking up to as close to sunrise as possible. But of course, few hours here and there is okay. So I would say, yeah, don't
Join a
work out too late
24-hour
into the
gym,
night.
but do not use the 24-hour aspect of the gym. Correct.
Use it as an exception. Use
Use
it
it as
when
an
you
exception.
absolutely, yeah, use it when you absolutely couldn't make time for it during the day, and if you had to put in a workout, yeah, for sure, that's when you use a 24-hour gym, not when not like an everyday.
Not regular.
Yeah, yeah.
They've imagine somebody's coming to you, an absolute beginner, or say, one of your clients has come to you. What are like 5 habits that you wish all of them had, you know, before they came to you so that you didn't have to like break your head with that?
Hmm. Consistency for sure.
Hmm.
because that's the one thing that we always fight with, right? So
Consistency in
um,
showing up to the gym.
in showing up, yeah,
Hmm.
because everybody starts with a lot of enthusiasm. Everybody wants to get fit genuinely, right? It's not like uh, they're just showing up because they don't want to. They are
Hmm.
showing up there, and the fact that they've actually come there on the first day is because they have an intention to change certain things about their life.
Hmm.
But somewhere 1 month, 2 months, 3 months later, there are chances that you lose that motivation, and for whatever reason, that consistency kind of drops. So
Correct.
if somebody was super consistent with their habits, then it's that much more easier to train. And I've seen
Hmm.
this. Like, it really depends on how they structure their life. The people who are very organized, and they know very specifically that this is what they need to do, and they're clear about it, and they're
Hmm.
very passionate about those goals, they will be consistent. But maybe somebody who's not so sure, maybe is just showing up, maybe is saying, okay, we'll see how it goes and stuff like that. Usually with that kind of a mentality, there is a chance to kind of fall off the bandwagon. So
Perfect.
consistency is one. Another thing is open-mindedness.
Hmm.
So again, there's so much information out there that a lot of the times people come in with very fixed mindsets. They say, okay, this is the guy that I've been listening to, but for example, if I'm, let's say, giving you some kind of advice, but then you might get a counter question saying, but this trainer said this, and I really believe what he says, but you're telling me exactly the opposite. um, so I would say, like, if you are working with somebody, open up to their way of thinking, go into it with an open mind, and um, give them that opportunity to do something different with you, because the reason that you've come in there is to change certain things, right?
Yeah. In
So
fact, one of my pet peeves is when people say, they say that you should be doing this. And I was like, who's this they that are saying
yeah,
these things? Right? Like, they is probably that unfit uncle of theirs who's giving you this tip about every morning wake up and have curry patta water. And then you will see your
right.
belly fat melt away. Like, uncle, why is your belly fat not melted away? So, matlab, who is this they that is giving your advice? I think I
And
had
they
done an entire
probably don't even
podcast
know who they are.
rant talking about, yeah, they don't know who this they are. Or stupid magazines and stuff like which have no scientific knowledge
Yeah,
that are talking
yeah,
about these things. Correct. So be open minded to learning new things is habit
yeah.
number two.
Be open-minded, and don't be closed to any idea. It might seem very foreign to you. It might seem very contradictory to what you've believed all your life,
Mhm.
but that might actually be something that might completely change you for the better.
Correct.
Try it. I mean, if it doesn't work, don't do it after
So
a
what?
while, but at least
Yeah.
give it a shot. Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Hello, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On Shunya One, Sheeladitya asks co-founder and CEO of Hungerbox, Sandeepan Mitra, about his entrepreneurial journey. On Cyrus Says Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Nivedita, Ayushi and Abbas talk about the latest court ruling on sex work in India. On The Habit Coach, Ashdin shares 3 steps that will help you let go of your failures. On IVM Likes, Snehil, Abbas, Zalak and Nikhil talk about the kind of music they grew up with. And on Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav explores the trade cuisines of Kerala. We've got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcasts has just launched its merch, and our first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcasts website and click on the shop tab to check out our first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: SBI Life Insurance, Jupiter, a digital banking app, Cap Gemini, get the future you want, Intel V Pro, built for business, and Intel Future Banao Wonderful with Intel powered laptops.
So that would be number two.
Hmm.
What else? Another one would be, if somebody comes in with no injuries,
Wah.
if somebody came in with absolutely no injuries, no medical conditions, of course that would be a lot easier to train. But of course everybody does have something or the other, so it's that much more harder to work with somebody who has injuries. So if you're somebody who does have injuries or have certain medical conditions, then be patient, because
Mm.
your trainer now has to not only help you achieve your goals, maybe aesthetic goals, but also make sure that nothing triggers in terms of whatever else that you're facing.
Correct.
So so you have to then, that means that maybe some of the fitness goals that you have might take a little longer than what you expected, because first priority for your trainer is to not injure you again or aggravate something that you already have.
Mm.
So which means that now that the tools that he has in his toolbox to help you achieve your goals might be limited now, because there's another factor that is coming.
Correct.
So that would be
So
number 3.
injuries, correct. Hopefully no injuries.
Hopefully no injuries, hopefully no medical conditions, but
What
that
about
never
things like
happens, by the way.
sleep? What about things like nutrition? What are some of the habits that you would tell people to form on those?
um so again, I don't subscribe to this kind of blanket uh, description of saying sleep 8 hours a day, you need 8 hours of sleep.
Hmm.
It's very, very individual, and I think it is pretty misleading to just say that, okay, if you're training hard, you need 8 hours of sleep. And this is something that I learned through meditation and yoga practice, is that you can learn how to be restful and not completely drain yourself throughout the day while you're still awake, where you might not need that much of sleep if
Hmm.
you are like that through the day. If you are somebody who is not in control of your emotions, if you are maybe expending too much energy without even realizing it just through the day in those, let's say, 16 hours, for example, that you're awake, then maybe you need to be, your body will need that much more sleep. So what I've realized is, if I'm very consistent with my meditation practice, I'm I'm still, even if I get like sometimes 5 hours of sleep or sometimes even 4 hours of sleep, I've noticed that the next day I'm still okay. I'm like wide awake. I have good energy through the day. On some days, let's say, where I've not really done my meditation and I'm not in the right frame of mind, and work is affecting me or stress or whatever, even if I'm sleeping 9 hours a day, I will still wake up and not feel ready to train.
Correct.
So in terms of rest, I would say, it's really individual. You have to figure out, and you have to help your client figure out, okay, how many hours does that person really need. Of course, the easiest way to kind of make it simple for people is, you say sleep more.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily true for everybody.
I
But
think
I would,
sleep, more restful is more
more
important. So, like,
restfulness, yes,
quality of sleep is so much more important than quantity, right? You might be waking up 20
exactly.
times in the night because your kid might be
Yeah.
kicking you, or
Yeah.
something or the other, but that is
Yeah.
not good quality sleep, even though you're getting 8 hours of it.
Yeah, and a lot of people will say, no, I'm absolutely okay with drinking coffee and I still pass out after
Mm.
that. It doesn't
No,
keep me up.
it doesn't work that way.
But if you actually, do a little bit of research, you'll see that your quality of sleep might not be as good as when you did not have coffee. You
Mhm.
might think that you have slept, but why are you still waking up feeling not the greatest?
Correct.
Like you said, quality of sleep is affected. So, and then recovery, of course, is another aspect. um, for some people, recovery could be, spending a little bit more time stretching. For some people, it could be making sure that they're foam rolling.
Mm.
For some people, it could just be, okay, I'm not going to do anything today. On a Sunday, I'm going to do zero activity because I've really pushed my body for 6 days of the week. So again, finding that kind of sweet
Finding your
spot.
recovery balance is important.
Hmm.
Lovely.
Yes. Yes.
Last question. What are three of your favorite habits that you're most proud of about your life? Like, what are the things that you're like, yes, I
Habits.
managed to do this and I'm so happy about it?
What are the 3 habits that I'm super happy about? One is consistency for sure. I'm able to
Sorry.
consistently show up in the
One second,
gym.
1 second. Dev, 1 minute. Huh? The
Yeah.
internet died. Huh. Okay, sorry. Say that again.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the main things is the fact that I can consistently show up in the gym, and as I mentioned earlier, be happy to show up. So not show up because I need to show up, but actually show up and be happy. Like if I miss a couple of days of training, I'm not happy. So it's
Hmm.
like a clear indication, and my body is telling me, okay, let's get moving. So that's one thing that I would never, give
Super.
up for anything.
Hmm.
Another thing is, I would say my ability to kind of control my emotions. Like you could call me as a relatively calm person, and this has not always been like that. Like back in school, I was a very short-tempered guy. Like I was always the guy who would not throw the first punch, but if somebody took a swipe at me, I would always be the one who would give it back and think that that was right to do because I was only responding or reacting rather. But now it's I think a lot of things led to that change. One is martial arts practice. I did a lot of martial arts, so that kind of calms you down because you also
Which ones?
understand. So started as with karate as a kid, did that for a
Hmm.
bit, but then I explored kickboxing,
Hmm.
which I did for a couple of years, and I also became a kickboxing instructor.
All right.
This was during college, and I think that was when a big change happened. Where and also the kind of kickboxing I was doing was more self defense, not competitive, not like ring. What you do in a ring with rules. This was like no rules, right? So it was
Hmm.
self defense. So that kind of taught me a lot in terms of the kind of damage that you can actually do to somebody if especially when you've learned these skills. So that actually calms you down, and kind of you don't get into these unnecessary altercations. And the first rule is to always de-escalate,
Correct.
and that somehow kind of seeps into your life and the way that you respond to things. And it's not just with altercations which lead to fights, but also general stuff in life, and how you handle stress and how you let it affect you and how you react to certain things, and you learn to respond rather than react and stuff like that. So I think that has been a
It's like Bruce Lee said, right? The number one defense, self-defense tactic is running away. So, like, the faster you run, the better it
yeah.
is for self-defense. Yeah, get out of the situation.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
Fantastic. So, the
um
calm mind is the second habit that you're
yeah,
most proud of.
probably the first one, actually, now that I think
First,
about it. Yeah.
acha, now we're ranking it. Okay, fine. So we got
Yeah.
right. We've got the calmest mind, number one.
Yeah. And the third one would be, um, I think I'm relatively good at reading people's energy. Not, I don't mean it in a, like I could be uh, a healer, or like I can read your energy and I can tell you things about you. No, but just like, maybe it's just, I don't know, subconsciously happened. Like I would hang out more with people who I really vibe with, and there's an instant disconnect with people who I don't, feed off that energy. It could be for different reasons, of course. Yeah, but maybe it's also the stage of life that I'm in. Uh, you know, you remember how, like, when we met in Goa, we immediately hit it off. It
Correct.
was like the first time that I was meeting you, but there was that connection that was established. So that happens like easily. It happens with people who are the same kind of energy as me. And at the same time, if I feel like, okay, if there is not something to either get or give in that interaction, then I don't feel the need to carry on with that
Mm.
interaction, as harsh as it may sound. But
No
what's
time for
that done is,
frivolousness. Yeah.
yeah, so what that does is, over the years, that really helps you, because over the years you've built certain connections which are, really helping you or helping somebody else, and you've not wasted your time on all of these, as you said, frivolous kind of interactions with people which anyway was not going to go anywhere.
Correct.
So yeah, that could be the third.
Fantastic. I love these three. Completely different from, just fitness. It is
Yeah.
actually about life that we're talking about and the way that you're managing energies. And ultimately, that's what it's about, right? Like, how can you show up in this world? That's what your fitness is for overall.
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I absolutely loved it. How can people continue this conversation with you? Where can they connect with you?
One would be Instagram. So I go by ninja.dev on Instagram. My gym's handle is Academy of Strength. That is academy.of.strength. And in case if anyone's in Bangalore, if they want to train, if they want to reach out to me for online training, that would be Sweaty Ninjas. Sweaty Ninjas. That's on Instagram as well.
Fantastic. And you
Yes.
didn't study ninjutsu after all of that.
I did.
What?
I tried it. I tried it.
Oh, you did?
I did. I did.
Mm.
And I absolutely loved it, by the way. But so there
What
was
happened?
like
Assassination wasn't part like your cup of tea.
so like I told you, right? I was doing kickboxing earlier, and that
Mm.
was very obviously it's very hard style, right? It's striking, and I saw myself slowly graduating towards more subtler forms of martial arts. So I did like a little bit of BJJ and as I said, like I explored ninjutsu, but that was just for like a couple of months, to be honest. Like, it's not like I dived deep into it. But ninjutsu, what I liked about it is the concept was it's an art of war.
Mm.
Okay, so it's not what the American movies have always told you, like these guys in black and just like jumping over roofs and stuff. But
Yeah,
essentially, it
most of the
was a
ninjas actually were plainclothesmen.
yeah. And then there were
Mm.
the warrior kind as well, which is like if they were
Mm.
going to war, these guys were fighting, let's say 14, 15 hours a day without a break.
Mm.
So if you're going to be fighting like that, then every single move of yours has to be calculated because you can't waste energy, right?
Mm.
And firstly, some of these guys are wearing like super heavy armor and their weapons are very heavy, etc. So the whole concept was that you move only as much as required and you move in the most efficient way. And that really struck a chord with me because, I mean, of course, ninjutsu is a lot more than just that, but this is one of
Correct.
the aspects. And I realized that's the way that I want to move. That's the way that I want to train. That's why, even on my bio in my Insta, it's about efficient movement. So somewhere that's the connection that I or that's what I took the most out of those 2 months of training ninjutsu is just trying to make my movement as efficient as possible, as less friction as possible. Yeah.
Did you ever practice the Mantis Walk?
We
So
did
this
a
is
bunch of stuff, but the mantis, I did it when I did kung fu.
no,
Maybe
no.
we
So
can
this is the
talk about it.
Mantis. This is the Mantis Walk. Huh? We'll talk offline without not on the podcast. But like this
Yeah.
is when how do you walk in a pitch black room so that
Huh.
you don't bump into things? So the
Oh,
idea
okay.
was
I
that you
haven't
have
heard of
your
that.
hands on
Huh.
top of your head, and then you have
Right.
the sliding motion with your feet, so you don't bump into something, and you don't
Ah,
trigger
right.
off any of those pressure sensors. It's quite interesting. I used to love reading up about the
Nice.
old ninjutsu text. All right. Anyway,
Ninjutsus. Hmm.
ninjutsu for another podcast. Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Ash.